Hello everybody, we are back live at the UQ studio. It's been a good long while since we've been able to return here, but it's good. It feels like home, doesn't it?
It does. It feels nice to be back in the studio, back in front of the big window where we can actually see the screen. We're after Warren about balancing between different windows and getting my Microsoft Word open. It's all ready to go in the studio, and I'm very excited for our semi-finals today.
Yeah, I'm super excited as well. But first, I think we need to sort of address something, because last time we were here, I don't know, it was barren. I could lay down on the desk, take a nap, but someone left this big ol' hunkin' trophy, apparently. Not sure who did that, but it is beautiful.
It is. It's actually, I didn't actually see it up close last year, but it's massive how big it is. And if you don't know what this is, of course, this is the Queensland High School League of Legends Championship trophy for whichever team of the top four. We got Hillbrook Hellcats, Indooroopilly State High School, Rochedale Rhinos, and of course the MacGregor, just MacGregor State High School.
They have like a griffin.
They have a griffin
logo
lion thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
They don't have a team name.
We'll call it. Well, I think we call them the Griffins.
The Griffins.
Yeah, let's call them the
Griffins.
Yeah.
Anyways, one of those four teams will be lifting up this trophy, and of course getting a nice little plaque engraved. We have last year's winners here, Kelvin Grove State College, written in there. Interesting, they didn't put KG5 because Kelvin Grove had 5 different teams in there.
Did they put KG5? It's on your end.
Okay, they just put KG5.
Because I thought it was KG4 that actually won it, though.
Maybe it was KG4.
It was KG4 who did take that, but yeah, this is what everyone is playing for right now. So to have that, live on set, I wish I could take it home with me, but alas, not only am I not in high school, but I'm also terrible at the game of League of Legends. Something that our players today will not be obviously making it to the Final Four within all of these schools. We started with about 40 in that upper division, and now there is just 4 remaining. We're continuing with the best of 3s, and it's going to be super exciting. But before we get into that, I think we have a quick thank you to some of our sponsors.
Of course, we like to thank Legion by Lenovo, a premier gaming brand that is perfect for both work and play. With stylish and minimalistic designs that fit in with any environment, if you're battling out in the Rift or hitting the books, Legion by Lenovo is perfect for you. Legion by Lenovo is excited to partner with high school esports in 2020 and supports the opportunity it grants to young students on and off the field, giving opportunities not only in the classroom to advance careers in gaming and of course professional sports, but one that's a little bit more alternative, a little bit more out there, and definitely a more in-depth experience and a whole different opportunity that you get outside of just being in the classroom.
Yeah, so a huge thank you for Lenovo as well. Without them, we wouldn't really be able to sort of put on sort of events like this. They are a big help in that regards, and they have pretty spiffy graphics and advertisements as well. That laptop looks so sleek, so light. If I was getting a new laptop right now, sadly I'm not, although I kind of need one because my current one overheats like crazy. I'll be looking at Lenovo for sure. So, and Intel Core 10th gen, pretty good deal. But that's not the only thing Lenovo helps with. They also help us choose, our play of the week, our savage play of the week, as it's like to be called. So, going to take a quick look back from last week and see what exactly that play was. This could be that proper front-to-back 5v5 that we are waiting for right now. Redeemers are setting themselves up for it, but here comes the call of the Forge God. Doesn't connect with anyone, but I Love Connie did push himself very far forward. Neon as well in a very unadvantageous position. Tidal is actually going to connect the entirety of the Redeemer side. Connie has to go in, and Backman in the middle of the fray has to flash out, does get the wild growth, but they do get a kill back. Not quite. A triple, in fact, going over to the Redeemer side. Pac-Man and 24720 running for their lives. Not much they can do. This might be the 8. This might be the pentakill, as Rochedale are going to take this quarterfinal in dramatic fashion.
You are now watching the legend, so sit back and let the show begin. The pro is in, it's in, to go and get me loaded in. And no offense, for the suckers ain't got close to no chance. I'm gonna win, my flow is so much doper than an opiate. Oh my lord, here we go again, it's going on and on, though. You can catch me up in that jungle, I'll be going ape like Congo. Hit them points like pronto, when I hit them up with that gun blow, that triple double Lonzo, that combo, I'm a living legend. You ain't heard yet, you not get the message. From the moment that I'm stepping in, I get a couple weapons. Yeah, I turn to a beast when I'm repping. I'm a living legend. You ain't heard yet, you not get the message. From the moment that I'm stepping in, I get a couple weapons. Yeah, I turn to a beast when I'm repping. Now it's my time, dog. I'm on my way to become an icon. Job to get your climb on, get to the level that I'm on.
And after looking at those amazing highlights, there can only be one winner of the Lenovo Savage Play of the Week, and of course a proud owner of a brand new Lenovo gaming keyboard, and that is It's Sweets from the Oh, Mansfield Minotaur. No, not the Mansfield. The Indrapilli State High School. There we go.
Yeah.
Of course, putting off fantastic pentakill here on the Yasuo, which eliminated out SPS from the last week's quarterfinals, and of course put them through to the semifinals where they're playing against Hillbrook on our non-stream game, and a fantastic pentakill, especially set up by that 3-man Orianna Shockwave into that last breath, securing the pentakill for its sweets, playing Yasuo bot lane.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, that pentakill, obviously. At that time, you could make the argument that the game was well and truly kind of won by that Indrapilli side. However, just that icing on the cake, whenever you pull off a pentakill, we're obviously going to highlight that one and show it off. So very well deserved. And on a Yasuo as well, I'm sure all of those Yasuo mains out there are probably like, see, this is why we play that champion.
For that one pentakill every 20 games.
Except every 20. Wow, that's a good, I would say every 200.
I mean, no, you play that one game of bots every now and again. Just makes us feel better, right?
Yeah,
when you lose 5 games, you go play a game of bots, get like 35, 36 kills, and then you go back into ranked again.
Yeah, you got to pump that KDA right back up. I'm on to you right there. But absolutely, congratulations to him and that Indra side, who, again, are still playing today. But they're not going to be our game on stream. No, we've got 2 different teams for you today. Rochdale will be in blue, and MacGregor will be in red. Now, MacGregor was one of my picks to make it to the final. My other pick, unfortunately, kind of lost last week to Hillsbrook, I believe, in what would have been a quarterfinal upset. But Rochdale, definitely, this is a strong team as well, and I think they're going to bring it to MacGregor today.
I mean, of course, we saw Rochdale on stream last week again versus... I can't remember who. There we go, the Redeemers. In a very swift 2-0 by the Rochdale Rhinos. It was a very back and forth series, and I believe namchangmanghan here in the bot lane got a pentakill on the Jinx and played very well. Jeans as well. The Nami was such a fantastic performer, and they looked really strong. Of course, these 2 teams have faced off in the regular season, as you can see. Before we went into the actual playoffs, the last game before the playoffs was these 2 teams. So it's only been 2 weeks since they faced off, or 3 weeks, sorry, since they faced off against each other, since they were both in the top half of the bracket, so they got a break. And of course, they've got a very good matchup here against MacGregor. Coming off being that losing side, it's about that ability to now get into the game. You know how MacGregor plays. You've now proved you've got a couple of weeks to look back over that game film and know how they're going to play. And MacGregor don't have that same advantage of knowing, this is where we made mistakes, this is where we can improve on. It's much easier to look at a loss and go, how do I improve? Versus looking at a win and saying, how do I improve? So I think Rochdale are actually my picks coming into today to take down MacGregor. As much as I would think the finals is going to be MacGregor versus the Mansfield Minotaurs, won't be the case. In fact, I think I think it'll be Rochdale versus Indrapilli now that Mansfield are out of it. And I think that game, again, is a very close matchup because they're both very similar teams in the way they played the game. I think MacGregor here is definitely... one of their biggest strengths is they play quite alternate strategies. They play stuff that isn't normal. They play a lot of Malphite mid. They play a lot of, I think they play like Garen jungle, like just weird picks that you don't really see, and champions that aren't particularly well played, even in general play in the solo queue. So it's that element of surprise where you don't know, when you're playing against an Orianna or you're playing against a Syndra, it's a very formulated, I've played against this champion before, I know what she does, I know what she can't do. But then you're playing against the Malphite or like an Irelia solo or an alternate champion like that, you kind of go, what does he do? And it takes you a bit to figure it out. And then that can get you some early leads. And of course, MacGregor very efficient at snowballing out and taking those games. Yeah,
absolutely. I think on an individual level, MacGregor probably is the strongest team, sort of pound for pound in that regard. Taking a look at their past record, you can see they beat Hillbrook, they beat Indrapilli, and they beat Rochdale all before. So those other 3 semifinal teams, MacGregor already does have wins over them. And that's kind of why I'm leaning towards them as my favorites in this one. And yeah, they're unconventional picks. I think a big one is that Fiddlesticks jungle, which we might see in this. I mean, YeDieJiuWo, I believe it's how it's pronounced. Sorry if I am getting that wrong, but a very, very strong Fiddlesticks. And you don't see too many of those, even after that rework, actually. Yeah. I mean, he's got a bit more play, but people are still kind of learning how to play against him at that high level. And that's right there is already eating either a ban or you're giving it over. And you don't really want to sort of give over bans on sort of those one trick picks as it leaves open other stronger things.
Especially the way that Fiddlesticks has now evolved with that rework. As you said, his new passive is such an impactful ability, in fact, and I find myself when I go into those, when you play against a Fiddlesticks for the first time, it's you kind of have to forget that, that Fiddlesticks walks out of the brush at you and you go, is this him or it's not? And it's real confusing. Especially, I know there was one iteration on the PBE where he would cast his ultimate. No, that could be like, there's so many flashes that would just get blown because there's nowhere to tell. Unless, of course, you have vision of him elsewhere on the map. So, I mean, good. That change could be could be a little bit impactful, and using that passive effectively can create a lot of different opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I know I did see a Fiddlesticks, like to carry on your point, on my personal stream actually the other day. I was doing some fun solo community casting, and there was a Fiddlesticks, and a brand support on the other team just kept throwing his ultimate straight into those clones because, as you do, this wasn't the highest elo game, to put it in lighter terms. I actually expect these players to be a lot better, and maybe not fall for those same sort of tricks if we see that Fiddlesticks. Now, we are getting ready to jump into our picks and bans. This is one last quick look at the roster. So on that Rochedale side, you have sshoirrao. I got it wrong immediately. I apologize. Sorry, Jet. I got that one. I spent like 5 minutes practicing getting that name right, and I just blow it the first chance. But he's up in the top lane. Madflyer is going to be playing jungle. HeroicFeet in the mid lane. Namchangmanghan on AD carry. I'll just be calling him Namechange throughout. And Jeans on support.
And of course, their opponents here, MacGregor, on the red side, we've got VayZhao in the top lane, YeDieJiuWo in the jungle, Mabøroshi in the AD carry, it's not AD carry, mid lane, AD carry only in AD carry, and Doobie10 in the support role.
Also, it's sshoirrao.
sshoirrao.
I do know how to say it. I just, always have to get it wrong at first. Either way, though, a little bit of a move around for that Rochedale side. I still think they're all playing the same roles. Maybe they're not. I don't know. We will see. But we are into our picks at bans, and straight away Fiora is being taken off the board.
Yep, Fiora and Cassia, of course, the first two bans out of the way. I don't know if they're... Oh, maybe it's because they're not been told to be in order, or... I know I've had a couple glitches when it comes to my pick ban that it's all out of order. It looks like they're instantly targeting HeroicFeet in the mid lane here. He did play those two champions last week. Two quite effective regards. I mean, his Zoe, I think, left a little bit to be desired, but he was very effective on the Cassia in the first game. And of course, the Twitch being banned out as well is quite a strong champion that can be flexed into the jungle, I believe. Madflyer has a bit of practice on that Twitch, so very strong bans from both sides, and Ezreal Yuumi looked in straight away. Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting because there's also, I feel, a lot of strong bans, but there's still a lot of strong meta champions left open, specifically in that bot lane. So we are seeing the Ezreal Yuumi locked in straight away. Misfortune as well, one of the strongest in the game. Fiddlesticks is going to be going to actually taken away from YeDieJiuWo in this one. And there's that Malphite mid that possibly could be going mid. It'd also be going top. What I find interesting is Rochedale, they're picking away a lot of MacGregor's signature picks throughout this tournament, and they're going to be running them on the inside. So instead of banning it away, they're saying, no, we can play these as well. And the response is going to be a Master Yi. I'm not sure how I feel about Master Yi into a Fiddlesticks and a Malphite. That seems like it could be a tough time.
I mean, it's not point and click CC, to be fair. It's not hard lockdown. So it's still a little bit of potential. Of course, Yuumi Master Yi is a fantastic combo as well, and I think that's what you're going to be looking towards if you're MacGregor when you round out your draft here. You want champions that synergize well with this Yuumi. Honestly, I could honestly see Garen or Darius top being a viable pick here. Into that Malphite, if it's going top lane, Darius is quite effective, of course, instantly shreds down the armor. You could also offer something like a Silas too to give yourself a little bit of a utility and access some of these very powerful ultimates. There's 3 extremely powerful, impactful ultimates already locked in on the Rochedale side. Stealing a bullet time, a Crow Storm, or a Unstoppable Force there would all extremely impactful, and would
Silas was
change the team fight. Oh, there we go. Silas taking off the board, so there you go. Instantly figuring out that kind of pick, and Mordekaiser looks like with the top lane matchup.
Yeah, interesting. I actually kind of like that Mordekaiser pick. I think it's a good response to the Fiddlesticks jungle in particular, because you can just immediately get a Crow Storm out of the fight. Yasuo is going to get locked in meanwhile. So, I mean, you got the knockup right there with the Unstoppable Force, so that follow through could be deadly. There's a serious wombo combo being put together on this Rochedale side right now.
With the Nautilus? Nautilus or Leona could be really strong here into this Ezreal Yuumi.
That's what I was going to say, is the Karma.
Karma, true, actually.
I was going to say that Karma for sure.
She was decent again.
Yeah, Karma absolutely fantastic in lane, just being able to bully pretty much anyone at this stage. Even in Ezreal Yuumi, I feel like might be struggling against the sheer amount of poke that a Misfortune Karma lane can put out.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
And Akali pick, that's probably going to be going mid lane.
I mean, we beat the Yasuo in the 1v1. Akali is one of the strongest champions in a mid lane melee matchup because of the fact she has that extra range and a 5-point strike the Q there and is able to proc those auto passives. But I think Yasuo, once he gets a little bit of MR built up, or once he gets his first item, he's going to destroy Akali later in the game. I find Akali one of those champions that whenever I see it locked in an enemy team, I go, free win, just because I personally am very confident against that champion. I play Zoe into her, to be honest. Zoe or Galio just dominates the champion because there's really nothing Akali can do. She doesn't have a lot of damage anymore in her kit. Now her ultimate's a little bit more targeted. It's definitely much harder to play her. However, Mabøroshi, quite a skilled player. He's platinum 3 or 4, so quite high ranked, quite a competent player. And so as a result, I can see this being a close matchup in the mid lane. I think the jungle role, actually, this Master Yi is going to be quite interesting to look towards. You can see they've paired Master Yi with, of course, Mordekaiser Akali, which one of the weaknesses about Master Yi is if you have an AD champion in the top or mid role, it's very easy to rush Ninja Tabai, and then the ganks aren't as impactful, of course, because all of Master Yi's damage is entirely auto-focused, and if it's an AD laner, that little bit of armor you get in the Tabai is ridiculously reliable. So, of course, having those two AP solo laners, or of course, Akali's hybrid, but having that AP top laner at least, makes Malphite a little bit more targetable. And of course, the fact that this Malphite is locked in means that the Mordekaiser will be able to do a lot of damage to him. His solid rock's not going to be as impactful. The passive there that gives him bonus armor and a bit of shield, I believe, as well. But I do think the Master Yi into the Malphite's an interesting pick, because I think later in the game, this Malphite's going to be near unkillable if it's not VayZhao out there in the top lane taking him out.
Well, I think that's just it exactly. Rochedale is definitely thinking later game with this team composition. In a team fight, I'm going to take this Rochedale lineup, I feel like, any day of the week against what MacGregor has. So MacGregor is going to be looking to end this game as fast as possible. I want them to be aggressive with their laning phase and, you know, try to sort of win lane and push forward. And again, that's why I'm kind of coming back to this Master Yi pick, because he's not really known as that early game aggressor. He's much more of a late game scaling, almost hyper carry type situation. And we were talking before, Master Yi and Yuumi is great. I would have loved to see a Graves in its place for this one.
Yeah, of course, right. Graves is that meta kind of version of the Master Yi pick. I think Graves is a little bit difficult to play, I find, and I think high schoolers don't really get full use out of the champion, because I think Graves is one champion that is, although he's not mechanically difficult to play, he requires a very good knowledge of the game to execute correctly. The only real effective Graves players I've seen have been a player from Somerset College, a challenger ranked player who is a Graves Rek'Sai 2-trick, and he pulled it out quite effectively in the semi-final game we saw against Indrapili, I believe. He played where he was like 5-0 3 minutes in. Ended up going 9-yes, but that's not the point. You got a little bit overconfident, but I think Graves is one of the champions, like Nidalee right now has also popped up in priority. She's been played in a lot of pro games, as of course pro started up this weekend. And the reason why these champions are so strong is because they have extremely fast jungle clears, very good power farmers, but they also have such good invade pressure. And invading is such an integral part of the jungle that really shows discrepancy between the two roles. The one thing is it's very difficult, and it's hard to understand when to go for invade timings, what support you need from your laners, and it requires a lot of communication and the ability to play off each other. And I don't think that YeDieJiuWo has...
It's MacGregor as a whole, they haven't shown that really as part of
they
their
haven't shown that invade style. And you can see these laners, like the Akali into Yasuo matchup isn't necessarily one where Akali wants to be pushing, as Yasuo, of course, uses those minions to trade. And you want to, every time you play into Yasuo at home, if you ever struggle against this champion, it's super easy. All you have to do is just make sure you freeze the wave in front of your tower, because as long as you have the wave frozen, Yasuo cannot use any of your minions to get his dash, because he'll just dash straight into tower, take a tower shot, and that's obviously not what you want, right? If you're Yasuo player, you instantly chunk him out of lane, and he can't really trade onto you, he can't play aggressively, which is what he kind of needs to do to kind of get snowballing. You just call your jungler, he's stuck up there in the lane, you burn a flash, he comes back again, and he dies over and over again. So that's the biggest thing. If Mabøroshi can communicate that effectively, Master Yi could get a couple of kills there. But again, I think this Malphite matchup up in this top lane is pretty much the only lane I can really see Master Yi attacking, but Malphite's not an easy champion to take down, right?
It's a Malphite.
He's got that level. Once he gets level 6, he's got an easy way to get out. Of course, can't be CC'd during that. Well, of course, Master Yi can Q follow, but then he'll get knocked up at the end of it. And of course, you can maybe lock him into that ultimate as well from the Mordekaiser. So I could maybe see that lane as a viable option for MacGregor to attack. But I think the way they're going to have to play this game is through a lot more of split pushing and a kind of catch style game. I think they've kind of gone for a bit of a not cohesive composition, which is obviously good of their alternate strategy. They don't really have to go for that's not what they've relied on consistently. However, I can see some real issues against this comp of Rochedale's. If HeroicFeet starts to get snowballing, he's got extremely reliable knockup with the Malphite here in the top lane, and then of course the follow-up with the bullet time is going to be excellent. I would have liked a second kind of lockdown ability, as I think as much as the Malphite offers that CC, it's only temporary, and I think the bullet time doesn't really have anything to really set it up. I think it's more of a zoning ability, and it's just to get that kind of just damage down on the field, and the Yasuo can follow through, clean up as well with the Crowstorm.
I do agree with you, because yes, you can see that wombo combo potential coming from Rochedale, but like you're talking about, you know, sustained multiple target crowd control. All they have is that unstoppable force. So, and they're against a MacGregor team that has a lot of, you know, mobility and a lot of dive potential as well. So, it's going to be very interesting to see if Rochedale can find that dream team fight. Again, I still like them because on an individual level, I still feel that name change is going to have that peel.
Yeah.
in his regards. I mean, you have the Fiora coming from the Fiddlesticks. You have, Roots out in the Jeans as well on this Karma. Not to mention, the group mobility that comes by having a Karma on your team. I just feel like Rochedale is going to have to struggle to find or force this dream team fight.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can catch MacGregor, going for an inopportune Baron or an inopportune Dragon and catch him in those pits. Yeah, there's absolutely openings for them, but whether or not Rochedale is going to be able to recognize them and then execute on them, that's going to be, I feel, the big story in this game. Because MacGregor, if they win their lanes and they play this game smart, they might not ever have to group up as 5. They
exactly right. You have that 1-3-1. You have probably Master Yi and Akali in the side lanes with the Mordekaiser protecting your Yuumi Ezreal, which is a very safe duo anyways. Or of course, you have these 3 champions. The only problem is when I've ever seen teams draft these kind of comps that want to split up and not group, I've never seen any team in high school actually execute that correctly.
There was one team.
SPS did it okay sometimes throughout the regular season whenever I saw a game on replay, because their top lane like to play like Nasus, Jax, and Darius, and didn't really have anything else in his pool, so they were kind of forced into that style. But I haven't seen a team, I don't think, really pull off a 1-3-1 super effectively.
I mean, 1-3-1s are one of the hardest team compositions to actually pull off. Like, it sounds easy in theory.
It does.
But actually doing it in a way that you can protect your solo laners while keeping that pressure, that's where the difficulty in those compositions rely. We'll see if MacGregor opts to go for that strategy or if they go for their usual win lane, win game. As it stands, we are on the Rift. This is the semifinals, and no one's going for an invade. No cheeky wards being put down just yet, so a pretty passive start to this one. Not too surprising, to be perfectly honest, as I don't really feel either team comp is built that much for an invade.
Yeah, not for an early game invade.
No.
Maybe you could see Rochedale going for something with the Karma pick here, but again, you don't really have that early lockdown. The root's quite difficult to land, and so as a result, I think it's better for both sides to play it safe. I think the key member we're going to look at towards this game is going to be Madflyer here on the Fiddlesticks. I think these team fights are extremely reliant on him getting a decent Crow Storm off and getting a lot of damage, because having those Yasuo mid lane, one of the weaknesses is the fact that you now only have AD damage from your comp. Of course, I'm assuming that Malphite is going to build tank and not going to build AP, as I think, his job is really to get in, land that big ultimate, and then stay alive as long as possible.
Yeah.
So I don't think going AP is really ever viable on a Malphite, except for some maybe cheese in the jungle occasionally. But again, I think this Crow Storm is going to be so impactful because it's their main source of AP AoE damage, and Fiddlesticks does a lot of damage once he gets that death cap up and running.
Yeah.
And I think if he can land that effectively, he's got a lot of ability to kind of slow down the rest of this team. Interesting, the cleanse on the Ezreal as well. I didn't expect that with Conqueror. I was expecting more of a
almost heat ignite, I suppose. But like, again, when you have the Yuumi, you don't need to take the heal. So I guess he has that versatility in that regard.
I meant teleport usually is what you're going to.
True. A teleport would be nice, but it's MacGregor. They don't play the map like that. However, the interesting thing I'm noticing actually is 2 things of note. First of all, the Arcane Comet on the Malphite tells me he still might go AP. That's something we could be watching out for. And the Dark Harvest on Madflyer on this Fiddlesticks is telling me that maybe he's going to look for some early plays and actually try to be a bit of a bully in terms of map presence. A little bit surprised to see both of those abilities, but I'm curious how they will play out, as for the most part, each jungler can tend to just power farm through the start of this game. Nothing too crazy, a bit of poke as you can see here and there. The first gank might be happening though up top right now, as Madflyer may have caught out VayZhao in this one. sshoirrao might be in trouble. He's actually quite low, has to flash. The follow flash is there from VayZhao, but he's unable to grab him back. YeDieJiuWo is here to maybe secure this kill, but it looks like it's going to go to the Mordekaiser. A bit of healing though. sshoirrao has to be cautious. One more auto, it goes in favor of the Mordekaiser down below. Madflyer runs underneath the tower, gets a big fear and an execute as well with help from the tower. Mid laners have a rise to the scene as Mabøroshi is trying to go one-on-one with HeroicFeet. There comes the teleport as well, because it looks like sshoirrao is going to rejoin this fight. A teleport as well from VayZhao as Mabøroshi is being chased back to his mid lane where he belongs, and that leaves VayZhao all alone. Madflyer on the opposite side of the wall thinking about joining in. This could be an interesting re-engage. VayZhao is slowly getting whittled away, but HeroicFeet is the one who's ignited, gets chased down and cut down by Mabøroshi. VayZhao now trying to go one-on-one, gets the double kill because Mabøroshi will steal that one away. Chaos in the top lane, 5 kills, and we're not even 4 minutes in.
And that's a huge loss as well for this Yasuo. HeroicFeet got that kill. Should have just backed off straight away and shouldn't have continued fighting because he's lost this massive wave now in the tower. It's not good at all for Rochedale. And MacGregor, huge winners on that play. Now 900 gold up because of the extra gold that Mabøroshi got moving second. Was able to clear out their wave, of course. Teleporting in and dying once again from the Malphite means he's massively behind now. And Rochedale gone for an aggressive play. When their win condition was a scaling team fight, you don't need to go for these early game plays. It was great to get that kill on the Yasuo, but outside of that, you need to play nice and controlled. The one thing is, Madflyer has now got a couple of Dark Harvest stacks. He's not doing terribly, but that Mordekaiser was just so strong with that W, getting that extra shield up, just let him stay in the fight for a lot longer.
Yeah, and things are going to get worse before it gets better for sshoirrao in this one. As you can see, already over 20 CS down, has died twice because he, dies, teleports back in, and dies again. This could be a very rough game for the top half of the map for this Rochedale side, so I'm expecting to see more pressure get put on this Ezreal Yuumi. I'm actually surprised as well to see how far forward Ezreal Yuumi has been able to push up in this situation. Considering, again, normally when you see, the Karma Misfortune lane, they are expected to be the lane bully. We could be seeing that gank right now, but the timing is not quite there. Spotted by a ward as well. A reset happening on the bot half of the map. So MacGregor off to a very strong start.
The HeroicFeet here on this Yasuo hasn't been particularly, mechanically effed on the Yasuo pick. In fact, I've seen a lot of mistakes, a lot of misused win walls in this matchup versus the Akali. As once you get to that level 5, this matchup starts going in favor of the Yasuo. As we see, could be a very dire mistake here from Madflyer being caught out by YeDieJiuWo.
Yeah, let's see how this one goes. Opens with the fear right now, but Mabøroshi is still quite healthy. Gets able to escape in the shroud, and now that damage being thrown right back to Madflyer. Mabøroshi picks up his 3rd kill of the game. HeroicFeet is able to get back to the safety of the tower, but this Akali is getting stronger and stronger as this game's HeroicFeet. Why are you looking to go back in? You have to be very careful right here. You do know that YeDieJiuWo is still around.
Yeah, especially the fact that he also just used that windmill once again, dodged that. But that was a fantastic play there by YeDieJiuWo on the Yi. Understanding that, of course, wasn't seen in that brush. Madflyer setting up for that gank and getting caught out by the perfect timing there. Waited for Mabøroshi, kind of walked up to the brush, yanked. Unimaginably, and HeroicFeet going to get killed here by Mabøroshi under the tower. Oh.
Yeah, one more auto will do it, but with that ignite and the tower shot, a shutdown goes over to HeroicFeet. A bit of a misstep coming from Mabøroshi right there. Overconfidence for sure. Gets a bit of momentum back on this Rochedale side, who, all things considered, despite a lot of sort of misplays and skirmishes going against them, they have been able to keep themselves relatively even.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest discrepancy is in this top lane. There's a 20 CS lead, but it's of course balanced out by the fact that Yasuo is up in CS in the mid lane too. Very, very difficult for them both to do it. So interesting to see both these sides kind of playing around these 2 lanes, and it's going to be a big difference. I'd much rather have my carry ahead rather than the Mordekaiser up on that top side, but it is a bigger lead, and the Mordekaiser is further ahead, and he is going to be a real damage threat too the later this game goes.
Yeah, he will be for sure. I mean, MacGregor kind of are starting to build that late game insurance, and also if you take a look at how the builds are going down in the bot lane as well, yes, we're not seeing a lot of damage, but both of these supports committing to the poke at this stage, as 6 fairy charms between the 2 supports have been built, and not a lot of damage by the AD carries, a tier as well as the Avarice Blade. So very interesting situation down below. Name change actually feeling very confident as he steps forward, gets poked a bit for his trouble. The reason why I bring up this bot lane and the poke is I feel like before we see that dragon, one of these bot lanes is going to have to really take over that bot side of the map, and then maybe someone will go for that dragon play. Right now, MacGregor seems to have that upper hand, which has me a bit surprised.
I mean, the one thing I like is especially the fact that name change here has instantly gone for that the execution calling, yeah. Which is perfect against this Yuumi, as the healing is going to be already drastically reduced. Also, Ezreal always wins lanes early since he has such great pushing power with that Q. He's able to send out another ability that's stronger than an auto attack constantly. So in the 1v1 has that better pushing power, even though Misfortune has that bullet time, or not bullet time, the
double tap.
Rain of bullets. What's it?
Double tap is that's the double tap.
What's the?
And then the other one is to make it rain.
Make it rain. That's the one. Make it rain, of course, to really control the wave. Double tap isn't as effective, right? Has that instant burst, but unfortunately isn't able to do it. You see, Mabøroshi just significantly outlaning HeroicFeet here. He's gone for a static Shiv by the looks of it, rather than that Phantom Dancer, which into the Assassin matchup is a bit of an interesting choice. But I mean, I noticed last week on his Zoe, he built some maybe not optimal items, but still did quite well. So we'll have to see exactly how this Yasuo goes. Obviously not as practiced on this champion as other members, as you see. AD carry only, just doing so much damage on both these characters. Jeans and Name Change are both significantly reduced in health, and you could maybe even say it's because Jeans isn't on his Nami, that one-trick champion that he's so famously known for.
That was an unstoppable force being used to escape. I'm actually surprised VayZhao didn't immediately pull him into the Shadow Realm right there, or the Death Realm if we want to use proper names. Especially considering the 2-level advantage that VayZhao's been able to get. Meanwhile, down below, Lost Chapter is used. The target is Name Change, but he's able to flash out of it. Bullet time on no health, nearly gets a kill back. The Ignite should be able to secure it. Back in the mid lane, HeroicFeet wins a bit of a duel. Jeans going underneath the tower to escape Doobie 10, but how does that bullet time work? I don't know. Either way, here comes the Alpha Strike. That will secure the kill. Flash pointlessly used for no reason at the end of it. Again, a bit of a chaotic situation. Important takeaways though, Rochedale gets a kill in mid, but bot lane now in MacGregor's favor.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the result of that overall poke. Unfortunately, the MF couldn't stay alive long enough to get out of that bullet time, and I think this Karma pick has left a lot to be desired. I think, it would have been much more effective to go for something like that Nautilus or the Leona, purely because of the fact in the team fights, you said, they're lacking that lockdown CC. Karma's more of a peel, run away, shield, buff up your AD carry, but Misfortune isn't one of those AD carries that relies on having extra follow-up damage. She kind of has her damage front-loaded in her double tap, has the damage front-loaded in, of course, her bullet time as well, so it's not as effective usage to have that extra heals and shielding. And as you can see there in that fight, of course, ran out of mana, wasn't able to provide the shields as effectively. The healing is only in favor of that Yuumi Ezreal, and the Misfortune didn't have that extra lockdown she needed to get those kills. And I think if there was a stun there maybe, or a root, would have been much more effective.
Oh, Mabøroshi though could be in a bit of trouble right now, can hide in the shroud for only so long, as HeroicFeet is able to secure the kill back in the mid lane. So the response from Rochedale is let's get this Yasuo ahead. That said, they also were able to pick up a Rift Hill. They're immediately going to drop it in mid lane, and that's going to warrant a teleport actually out of VayZhao. And I'm surprised to see that, because that allows a free reset for sshoirrao up in the top lane as well.
I really hope Malphite doesn't TP back to lane here. Oh, she has to TP back to lane. The lane froze. He just created a freeze on himself. Needed to stay up and push that wave one more and then reset. It's really important the wave hits the tower, because now he's going to lose a lot of minions to the red side, and the red side's going to build up quite a significant amount of million. I mean, he could be denying too, of course, because his minions are going to die faster, but I think the Mordekaiser will get up there in time. I
don't know, because Mordekaiser was concerned about that, Rift Hill. Meanwhile, bullet time in the mid lane is actually going to be used to save Jeans in this situation. Unstoppable force from out of nowhere. That's where the teleport is coming from. It's used to secure a kill onto AD carry only. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, once again, we are looking at a potential duel right here. Into the shroud goes HeroicFeet, but Mabøroshi just content to play it out. So a bit of a patient play right there. Ultimate was used by Mabøroshi in this one. HeroicFeet still holding on to his. So next trade should go in favor of the Yasuo.
One of the biggest things here, the fact that Mabøroshi was winning those 1v1s, had that extra kill gold straight away, but he's not being able to CS. You can see that CS discrepancy, 30 CS in favor of the Yasuo, and minion scores, creep scores, getting that extra gold from the minions is such a big swinger. 15 gold is equivalent to 1 kill's worth of gold. The fact that Yasuo also has 4 kills means he is so far ahead of this Akali, 2 levels up as well. It means this lane is pretty much uncontestable for her, as you see the last breath used just to poke.
Oh my gosh, the Ignite helping to secure the kill right there in the mid lane as HeroicFeet. Now it says 5-1 on this Yasuo. What I find interesting though is, like, as far ahead as HeroicFeet is getting in that mid lane, taking a look up top as well, we might be seeing a Flame Horizon type game in this one, because VayZhao has just been putting, sshoirrao in a very awkward situation.
I think it's really important here for Yasuo to get some maybe I honestly say get the QSS and the Mercurial Scimitar, given the fact that the biggest threat on the enemy team so far seems to be this Mordekaiser. And if he's able to use the QSS to not get ulted himself, I think it'll provide a lot more utility for him. You see there, well, maybe going for the Wit's End debating it, but has picked up at least a Null Magic Mantle. And I believe getting that, maybe he's going for a Hex Drinker actually. I would rather, if he's going to go for an AP item, go for, MR item, go for the
sshoirrao is actually in a bit of trouble right here. Madflyer going to use the Crow Storm, gets a bit of a fear as well. The flash forward and the hammer comes down. VayZhao now looking for a double, and a lot of abilities already used by Madflyer. Yeah, the drain's not going to save you this time, nor is the silence. Flashing towards Mabøroshi isn't going to help, so a double kill goes over to VayZhao in that one. Rochedale, they had a bit of a lead, but it appears they're going to give it right on back. Gold's still very even.
Yeah, this top laner here for MacGregor, VayZhao, is going to be the main discrepancy in this game as we see Heroic.
Ignite already dropped on HeroicFeet. That Windwall's not going to do too much against a couple melee champions, as you can see, getting shut down. Kill goes over to YeDieJiuWo. Meanwhile, down bot again. More pressure being put on by AD carry only. Unfortunately, no dragon available, because that would be a fantastic time to secure it.
Yeah, exactly. I believe it was taken earlier by MacGregor, of course. Just didn't really get taken after any objective. It just kind of got snuck away by the Master Yi. And Madflyer here on this Fiddlesticks, as much as he's been impactful in this game, I feel like he just doesn't have mastery over this champion. As you can see, that last discrepancy with the Mordekaiser, wasn't aware of his damage.
This is a bad situation. The root into the bullet time does a significant amount of damage. Ignite has been dropped onto AD carry as well. No lost chapter available. An AD carry with nowhere to run. Doobie is going to try and body block, buying time for YeDieJiuWo to arrive, but already name change has killed AD carry. Here comes the jungler, is able to grab one, but not before Doobie falls as well. Jinx will eventually get cut down. A 2 for 2, but we're not done yet. It's time for some, a little bit of jungle combat, but YeDie definitely has the advantage in this one, so Madflyer has to run under the tower.
Yeah, Tabai needs to be essential for this Master Yi. The jungle top duo are so far ahead here for MacGregor, and I really think that could change the game around. Interesting to see Yasuo opting to actually finish off that mid lane tower and grab that first blood. Looks like he'll be rotating to that bot lane very soon, hopefully. I'd expect even now to change around with this misfortune, given the fact that Yasuo is going to excel in these side lanes versus the Akali now, especially he's so far ahead. And you can see him even versus the Mordekaiser does have that Hexdrinker, but I don't know. The Hexdrinker is not really effective, right? Because the Hexdrinker is only good versus the Akali. It's not good versus sustained constant AP damage, which is what this Mordekaiser provides. And I think our wit's end, if you're going to build something with magic resistance, is much more effective if you're not going to go for the Mercurial Scimitar. I think that's probably the best item he could possibly go for, or just ignore the MR altogether and get a Bloodthirster, and hopefully the sustain is enough damage to kind of balance it out. So item-wise, I don't know if it's the most efficient route, but I like this from the Malphite going for that Abyssal Mask, what's it called?
Another duel in the mid lane. Mabøroshi was actually going to flash forward. Flash for flash, HeroicFeet, drop the Ignite, trying to turn it around, but does not have that damage, so Mabøroshi secures a kill right there. Similarly as well, actually, the second dragon, that Mountain Drake, was secured by Rochedale, which has me a bit surprised, because MacGregor was able to sort of secure that bot lane after the skirmish before. So I'm kind of curious how they wound up losing possession of the bot half of the map after that one. VayZhao going to go ahead and focus more attention on the top half, which well and truly does belong to MacGregor at this stage because of VayZhao and this lead you were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, you can see they're 3 levels up on the on his opponent there. Well, in the mid lane, the lead is not as big. HeroicFeet going down on 1v1 to Mabøroshi, honestly, to a misplay. He had the tornado up and kind of walked into Mabøroshi's range. If he just cut it back, waited for that knock up, would have sent it through, got the last breath off and secured the kill, but unfortunately did go down there, burning both the flash and the ignite. Kind of unwarranted. And Akali, you have to worry about this champion, as once she gets that Hextech Gunblade upgrade, is one of the strongest power spikes. It's similar to that on Katarina. Once this champion gets that item, it transforms from being a decently strong champion into pretty much unkillable and unstoppable.
Throw storm into the bullet time, and there's the wombo we were waiting for. Lost chapter comes too little too late, and Doobie, the poor kitty on her own, will get gunned down by name change. So good use of the wombo combo right there. It doesn't do much to stop VayZhao, but it does get more momentum and more gold going to the bot half of this map, which has kind of become the Rochedale strong side.
Yeah, I mean, I think this Yasuo and MF are, of course, the two main carries they're kind of playing towards, and they are both reasonably fed and has a decent amount of gold, but I feel like this Mordekaiser in this side lane, if they can keep up this side lane pressure and keep him separated from his team, he's going to get stronger and stronger. Rochedale need to rotate this Yasuo to a side lane as soon as possible. They need to have him versing this Mordekaiser ideally, given the fact he should be able to contest, but I actually think that VayZhao has not only kept up in kills, but is massively ahead in CS here. Perfect CS almost, and I don't even what rank is he? He's playing like
he's playing amazing.
Yeah, I mean, having that CS is probably the easiest way I find to tell the rank of a player. As you know, generally the only players that can maintain very high CS leads have to be Diamond or above, because the ways you get to Diamond or Challenger is consistency. You don't have to be good every now and again. If you're up and down having one good play and one bad game, you just go back and forth and back and forth.
I think another thing though to note as well in this one is, again, going back back to this point that you made about HeroicFeet, wanting to see him on the sideline go up against VayZhao. As hold this thought as Madflyer might be getting caught out. Look at the damage VayZhao is able to do. Madflyer doesn't stand a chance. Mabøroshi looking for the fall through, trying to cut out sshoirrao before he can escape. HeroicFeet is going to try and buy some time. Gets a bit of a knockup, but he's not going into that one. In goes Mabøroshi, gets the kill underneath the tower, but a couple tower shots returns the favor. Under the tower, we might go the last breath. Not enough damage to get the kill. YeDieJiuWo will go under the tower secured, but will fall to that last tower shot. Meanwhile, down below, here comes name change and Jeans trying to catch someone. Bullet time into the lost chapter. Oh, the root was there, but AD carry only was able to get out. Actually, that wasn't a root. That was, you know, the ultimate coming out of AD carry instead. But he does it just outside the bullet time, so doesn't take too much damage. Here comes another root, perhaps held in place, forced to burn that cleanse immediately. So AD carry only barely able to dodge out of this one. Going real quick to the point I was trying to make before, you only build a static shiv, I feel like, first on HeroicFeet if you're intending to split push. So again, I'm surprised why he's staying in that mid lane.
Even then, the fandomness is just so much better. Of course, obviously was opting towards this Hex Trigger, so obviously didn't want to double up on that Lifeline passive, but I still think that the Lifeline passive on the PD is better than the passive on this Hex Drinker, given the fact that the more Mabøroshi is when you get the lifesteal, you only get a shield basically, and it's exactly the same size as the Hex Drinker shield, except the other one is just a health shield where this is only magic damage. So I think honestly, very poor choice in items by HeroicFeet, and you know, his Zoe game last week was again, pick those wrong items. We started with Dorian's Ring instead of Corrupting Pots, didn't go for the double pen as you normally go for, didn't go for the rabbit on Death Cap, and you know, as a result had a bit of lacking in damage stats after the game. It was really only the Pentakill on name change that changed that around, and of course wasn't as close of a game between Rochedale and whoever they played last week. I keep forgetting I shouldn't do this, but anyways, so you didn't get punished for it. But in this game, when you're playing against the best teams in Queensland, the top four, MacGregor, you know, probably the best team on paper still left in the tournament. You could argue between them and Indrapilli, power ranking wise, who you think is the best. I think MacGregor was 2, Indra was 3, I think, if you look at normal table standings. So MacGregor probably the highest seed still left in this tournament. You can't afford to be making small mistakes in your item choices when the game is so frantic.
VayZhao can just walk right up to Rochedale right now, and that's all the zoning they need. However, Madflyer was still able to get to the back line, but YeDieJiuWo was easily able to handle that. 2 more kills already for MacGregor as VayZhao continuing to hold that line. Here comes the bullet time, way too little too late, as Rochedale were very disorganized in picking this one. So it's a pretty easy ace for MacGregor, as the 1-at-a-time strategy does not work. 5-for-0 MacGregor, they're looking at Baron.
Yeah, I mean, and 21 minutes into the game, dying to an ace is dire circumstances for Rochedale. Only 3,000 gold down is not a huge lead to insurmountable, but YeDieJiuWo on this young RC is so far ahead. There are no items really built to counter him other than the Bramble Vis that has recently been built on sshoirrao, but that team fight was so bad from Rochedale. There was no communication, no synergy. I think they saw the dragon going down and tried to contest it, but they should have just left it alone and gone to those side lanes and gotten leads elsewhere. You can't contest if you're not organized. You didn't have your misfortune. You didn't even get a Malphite ultimate off. And you know, Madflyer was 1v1ing this Master Yi. He can't do that. The way your team fight works is as a cohesive unit all together. It's not effective if you're going to do it like that. And I think, honestly, this game's looking all MacGregor if Rochedale can't pull it together.
I mean, if you go back to last week as well, those are the same issues Rochedale had. Despite winning, some of their team fights got a bit sloppy. It wasn't until the very end that they were able to rope it back and bring it together. So I'm very concerned about Rochedale right now. They've committed to sort of this wombo team fight strategy, but then they're picking fights without the team there. And that is just a recipe for disaster, especially when you're considering how individually strong some of these champions are on that MacGregor side. VayZhao just able to walk up and zone away 3 members on his own. The flank did not work whatsoever. So MacGregor, they now have a Baron, and that small gold lead is about to accelerate, I feel like, and accelerate very quickly if they use this Baron correctly moving forward. And Rochedale has to be very careful how they weather this upcoming storm.
And Rochedale also needs to balance out how they're taking these fights. I mean, first of all, getting a coherent team fight is essential, but the other issue they have is the fact that they don't actually have very cohesive units. In terms of, now that MacGregor have started to build a lot more items, of course this Malphite, the Mordekaiser has 3 items already, plus, you know, the Cold Steel passive on that Randuin's Omen, so going to reduce the attack speed of the Yasuo. They need to make sure they're playing more effectively and more open-aired. The fact that they've also got double Leandri's Torment, one on the Akali as well as the Mordekaiser, means they want to fight consistently and over time. And I really think Rochedale need to play these fights. They need to get a Malphite ult in, burst down the backline, instantly kill Mabøroshi, instantly kill YeDieJiuWo or AD carry only. Just burst down 2 carries with your last breath bullet time Crow Storm combination. Peel out of the fight. Don't keep fighting after that happens.
Into the Death Realm goes Jeans. VayZhao should easily be able to take that one. True Shot Barrage joining the rest of Rochedale, but that bullet time's actually pretty well placed. Gets a good chunk of damage, but it's nowhere near enough as VayZhao already gets himself the double. That is Jeans and sshoirrao already falling down, and this is what I mean about that lead about to get worse as well. You have those cannon minions with the Baron empowerment just blasting away at that mid tower, and these buildings are going to fall and fall quickly.
Yeah, and again, it's just that once you get this Baron, especially with so many objectives up and early into the game, the minions become way too strong for them to contest later into the game when minions are both at level 18, because of course minions do have...
Oh, HeroicFeet gets caught. He's not getting out of that one.
Yeah, and you see all these standing towers are just falling down. There's too much gold on the map now for MacGregor that they're going to be picking up. The Baron is just way too hard to stop. The champions aren't high enough level. They don't have strong enough items or abilities. And this Mordekaiser, who has near perfect CS, 715, he is pretty much unstoppable, and he'll carry MacGregor to victory this game as they look to go for the end now.
I mean, the Randuin's Omen kind of just feels like the ceiling deal in this one. So he pulls you in, pops that passive, you can't escape. You're not getting damage back to get him as well, because the only one really with sustained AP damage might be Madflyer, but we already saw how that exchange goes down. Exactly. So he is pretty unkillable at this stage, and even though MacGregor are pushing S5 because of that Baron, it doesn't matter because Rochedale keeps stepping too far forward and they keep getting caught.
The thing Yasuo needs is he needs to get an Executioner's Calling.
Yes.
He needs to have this anti-healing for the Mordekaiser, because that's what makes Mordekaiser so strong. It looks like he's also going to go for a Spirit Visage here, which will make him unstoppable as he gets so much healing back from his passive, and of course that W as well, able to convert that shield into extra health. So you need to make sure he's not getting the sustained damage in fights, and they just can't kill him fast enough. I think this game is well and truly over. I think MacGregor are going to take it out. I don't see a way for Rochedale to win, as even if they get a perfect cohesive team fight, they're still too far behind. 10k gold is kind of that area where you go, no, it's kind of over, but at 25 minutes, it's especially over. Super Minion's going to be pouring down this mid lane. Of course, MacGregor could make a mistake and sit as all 5 here in the mid lane, but I think VayZhao here must be a very high ranked player, and I think he'll be able to go to those side lanes, play very expansively, and carry his team to victory.
Yeah, that's I think what we're getting to right now. Another Ocean Drake as well going to go to this MacGregor side, so when they do set up this final siege, even more sustained in their favor. And to continue on your point as well, and sort of analyzing the state of this game and how MacGregor has such a huge advantage, it's, as you're saying, you know, that gold differential definitely coming into play right now. MacGregor was able to reset, so you're seeing a lot of more items being built up. That Spectral Cow onto VayZhao, I think, is particularly important. Furthermore, you know, it's like what I like to say, something stolen from Weapon XVX, shout out to him, but MacGregor is in position where they're just going to beat Rochedale down with their wallet. They're going to take their wallet, they're going to put some more gold coins in there and just go smack, smack, smack. And unfortunately, I don't think Rochedale, even if they get that Dream Wombo, has the damage to sort of finish off MacGregor. They're a bit too tanky. They do too much damage right back in their face, and there are too many threats that they need to be careful of. 7-1 Mordekaiser, 7-2 Master Yi, 8-kill Mabøroshi on the Akali. All of these champions can pretty much win a team fight on their own if all of the burst is thrown onto a different target.
Yeah, and the one thing I find about MacGregor is the fact that it's not like a... They pick these alternate champions, you know, they especially Mabøroshi here in the mid lane didn't do particularly well. Got beaten in lane, I would say, in the 1v1, but again, incorrect play from Rochedale in order to extend their leads in the mid and bot lanes. 2 lanes of day 1 have now cost them this game just because of this one lost lane. And it's just the fact that VayZhao on this Mordekaiser is able to play so expansively and really just control the entire game while being the only fed member. YeDieJiuWo picked up so many kills on Madflyer in the jungle, and I know maybe it was a bit of an experiment here from Rochedale to pick a bit of some different champions and kind of try something different for game 1, and you know, take away some of the picks that we thought MacGregor would go for, and you know, maybe take some books out of their strategy. But I think it's very important that MacGregor do now be careful, and the second game Rochedale needs to go back to what they're useful. Make sure you get Nami Jinx first rotation. Make sure you're getting a very control mage mid for HeroicFeet. He likes playing the Cassio, likes playing the Zoe. If those are banned out, maybe go for something like a Rise or a Victor, something that'll allow you to get that strategy. Make a tank in the jungle, a tank in the top side, play very simple, expensive play.
Yep.
Don't fight early on in that top side that made this Mordekaiser a massive lead. Play safe, play controlled. play like it's your last game of the tournament, because it very well could be.
Absolutely. I think the big thing you hit on as well in that is play more to your team's strengths and think around your team's strengths. Russia, they played like they had that same similar team comp that they had last week, but they really don't. They needed that late game team fight. And it's really when they mis-executed on that dragon fight that this game got blown open. So the second they did exactly what their team comp is not meant to do, they falter. It comes to understanding your team composition, it comes to understanding your champion's strengths and weaknesses. And what's interesting to me is Rochedale, I mean, this team composition is fairly easy to execute. You sort of play passively, play safe, win your bot lane, so you have your misfortune of scaling up a bit, but everyone else can kind of go even and you should be fine, or even lose a little bit in the top lane. And then once you get to, I suppose, more that 30-minute mark, if you're still within like 3K gold lead, even if you're behind, that's when you can start to win those wombos. Now, we're getting close to that 30-minute mark, but there's a big difference between 3K and 10K. So even if Rochedale do find that dream wombo, I'm still not going to be sure it's enough. Yeah. Maybe they can prove us wrong in this one. I mean, we're not going to see until we see that fight, but that big final fight is going to be starting soon, whether it happens in Rochedale's base or when the next neutral objective comes up, be that Baron, be that Ocean Soul. Eventually, Rochedale, they're going to have to pull that trigger.
Yeah, I mean, and while we're going through that, MacGregor did actually secure the Baron Nashor too. So now this is their second Baron in the game, much stronger, and there's much less objectives to take. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Rochedale's base for the next 2.5 minutes before this Baron runs out. And I think it's going to be essential they go for this fight. HeroicFeet has got his 3 core items on the Yasuo completed. The Static Shiv, Bloodthirster, and of course the Infinity Edge as well. But
this could be that fight. However, HeroicFeet is caught and taken to the death round. YeDieJiuWo just walking straight up to him. Actually, HeroicFeet doing a good job dodging a lot. The True Shot Barrage, though, is keeping the rest of Rochedale away. So the second HeroicFeet goes up, he hits the last breath and stays alive only for so long. He gets a bit of pressure away, but now it's a 4v5. Flashing in is YeDieJiuWo with the help of that Lost Chatterer, is able to catch out Rochedale. The bullet time not doing nearly enough damage. It is the power of the wallets after all, as Mabøroshi gets himself the double kill. MacGregor gets the ace, and that's going to do it for game number 1.
Yeah, that should be the first game going over. A triple kill to the Akali, double kill to the Master Yi. You can see the power of that Master Yi and Yuumi duo lane there. Being able to have that so much speed from the Highlander once Master Yi pops it with the Lost Chapter, he's able to run back and forth and pretty much CC everyone. As you see, a very, very fast game there from MacGregor, taking out Rochedale in game 1. And I would say MVP has to be that Mordekaiser.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's no question about it. YeDieJiuWo did well. Yeah. I think he played very effectively, but I think the reason why he did so well was, one, poor itemization. It's quite easy to itemize against a Master Yi and not get one snowballing. I think Madflyer made a lot of mistakes on this Fiddlesticks that looked like not so much bad play per se, but just not understanding the damage capabilities of his champion. You know, he 1v1 VayZhao on the top side and was like, oh, he's on 2% HP, I win for sure, but didn't use his abilities properly, wasn't able to actually kill him. I thought it was a kill for sure, but VayZhao knew his cooldowns, kited it out, got his W shield back up, walked back in, killed him again. And of course, that gank in the mid lane, I think, was actually a big turning point when YeDieJiuWo was able to counter that gank coming in from Madflyer, picked up 2 kills, and I think that was probably one of the biggest movements that kind of went, okay, well, the top side's now completely in MacGregor's control. Jungle and top are ahead, which means YeDieJiuWo can just run into the blue side jungle there. I've got the support from Mordekaiser as well, so there's no way to really answer back, and I think that's what kind of changed this game around. I think there's a lot to work on for Rochedale for game 2, which, I mean, thankfully they only have about 5 or so minutes to kind of think about it, reevaluate their draft strategy. They tried something a little bit different for game 1, but I really make sure they need to go back to comfort. And when you're playing these games, these elimination games, there's no error for margin.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said before, we saw the momentum changing with some of these inopportune team fights. For myself personally, I think the big breaking point was that dragon fight, because they were keeping it somewhat even when they weren't, you know, being over aggressive and trying to force fights. When they're playing a bit more passive and letting, you know, their MacGregor come to them and they're able to turn them around, we actually saw some signs of life out of them. Not to mention, they were winning that mid lane matchup, and that should open things up. But I think being delayed in getting the Yasuo into the side lane to stop sort of the Mordekaiser from scaling more and more and more, as well as, you know, picking fights in a disorganized manner, which goes against what their team comp is meant to do, really is what bit them very, very hard and cost them that game.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing that I also find, I think, a little bit interesting was I had that point and then I immediately lost it. So I find it interesting how quickly I lost it. Either way, we are going to be taking a quick break. You can see that timer. It's right there. It says 5 minutes, 25 seconds. I love playing with these graphics. It's fun.
I miss this.
I miss this. I miss this stage. I missed my sleeping bag underneath the stage because I never wanted to leave. And I will miss all of you for the next 5 minutes because we're going to be taking a quick break. But when we come back, game number 2 here at the Queensland League of Legends High School Series. Surprise, we're back early. Haha, 20 seconds caught you off guard. I'm sure I scared absolutely no one at home. Either way, though, we're going to be jumping straight into these picks and bans because they've already gone underway. We can already see our team compositions, in fact.
Well, there we go. Up and done very quickly. I like the change in the draft here, or instantly straight away by seeing it from Rochedale. The Kha'Zix is the only pick I have a big question mark about, but I love the fact that they've got Ornn on the top side, another tanky CC champion up there. They haven't been at the Mordekaiser, interesting. It wasn't picked up, so obviously this Fiora are going to take it to the Ornn ideally. I love the fact they've gone for Jinx, Nami, back to comfort once again. HeroicFeet on a control mage in the mid lane. What he showed, prowess on that Cassiopeia is probably the only performance that I think has been particularly fantastic out of him. The Zoe was okay too, but again, item build isn't probably my biggest issue with him. But I think overall, on this Syndra could be a lot more confident versus the Irelia. Mabøroshi does have that aggressive play, so I really need to make sure HeroicFeet freezes this lane, and his wave control is going to be in a big test here. I think every game I've seen him play so far, other than that very first Cassio game, he's been tested on an element of mid lane that is quite quintessential to effective performance. Of course, that last game was that Assassin 1v1 matchup, balancing the melee matchups, jungle pressure, stuff like that. I think he did all right last game on the Yasuo, but I think could definitely be room for improvement. Hopefully on this Syndra, he's going to be tested very much on wave clear and managing around this Irelia, because if Irelia gets 5 stacks, gets on top of him, lands those CC abilities, he could be in for a world of trouble and be like 10 kills down. Because Mabøroshi has shown his competence on these assassin picks. He loves playing Akali, loves playing Irelia, loves playing stuff like AP Malphite mid, which is basically a one-shot assassin. I like the Janna Aphelios in the bot lane versus this Jinx Nami. I think Janna is probably better than Nami as an enchanter, but Jeans on this Nami, he's so comfortable. He has got like, I think 250 games every season. He's fantastic at Nami, so I think Jinx is going to be a key performer down his bot lane. Namchangmanghan got a pentakill on the Jinx last week as well. So again, I think very effective champions. Love that they've banned out the Yi. Love that they've banned out the Yuumi. I think they were very impactful last game. And Kindred here for YeDieJiuWo. This is what he played the first time we saw him on stream. He did extremely well on it. So very good jungler here in the jungle from MacGregor. And interesting to see VayZhao on the Fiora, given the fact that we just had a look at his OPGG in between games, because I couldn't believe the fact he's a gold 3 player and playing that well on Mordekaiser. So interesting to see how he's going to adapt and change now that he's not playing those champions.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually like the Fiora pickup, especially because, you know, when you win lane as hard as you do in game number 1, if you can come into it and have another dominating performance, but on a champion that's almost designed for that, that's going to be really, really strong for them. Obviously, though, when you're going up against an Ornn, that can prove to be a bit more difficult, Ornn being one of the better tanks in the game. Now, lane matchup, you still have to favor VayZhao on the Fiora in that one. It is going to be a weak side, top side, one would think for sure on this Rochedale side. But really, I'm a little bit worried because Rochedale, they haven't like picked hard losing lanes, but they have picked 3 lanes that aren't necessarily known for getting those big early advantages. I mean, Syndra in the mid lane, you have that kill pressure. Usually if you have a little bit of extra control or lockdown, I think once we hit level 6, Madflyer might be able to sometimes roam up and they can instant pop that Mabøroshi, but that's not until level 6. Top lane, you're not really going to be finding many kills. And bot lane, yeah, if you get a key Aqua Prism, that would be fantastic. But you're kind of relying on that engage. So going back to your initial concern, which was that Kha'Zix, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm not too sure where Madflyer is really going to be able to exert himself on this map, unless for maybe going for invades. But for that to be successful, you kind of need more winning lanes. And I can see everyone on Rochedale just getting poked in. I'm really worried about this jungle matchup right now. Yeah,
especially because Madflyer had his chance on that more assassin-y damage carry pick in the Fiddlesticks. I think his performance left a lot to be desired, as it didn't look like he had comfort on that champion. I don't know how much he's played Kha'Zix, but I think Madflyer has shown as a jungler, YeDieJiuWo is just far superior. He's much better at controlling the map, knowing where he needs to be. And I think there's a bit of rank discrepancy there too, which kind of helps influence that. I'm not sure if he played last week. I think he might be new actually, because I can't remember his name.
Madflyer?
From the previous week.
He was there last week. He was there last week.
Like an Olaf here would have been fantastic. And I think going for this damage carry kind of champion like a Kha'Zix has not been meta since season 6, right? When I mean, the only reason why I remember Kha'Zix and it was a meta where it was just Kha'Zix Rengar were premier junglers when Contracts was bursting onto the scene at C9, played extremely well on those 2 champions.
I think it started season 8. Kha'Zix was around as well.
Season 8, maybe not season 6. Sorry, it's season 10 now. I was thinking 2 seasons ago. I started playing season 8. There we go. But yeah, so season 8, sorry, is when that Kha'Zix Rengar jungle was the thing, and Kha'Zix hasn't really shown up since then ever. A little bit at the World Championship with Ambition. But again, that was season 8 again, right? So that's pretty much the only time that Kha'Zix has been particularly impactful. Got the World Championship skin that year too. That's a good skin.
Actually. It actually is one. I think I own that one. Yeah, no, it's a
I'm
good skin.
disappointed with the Raya skin, actually. Their Raya skin is really, really nice.
I mean, when Worlds comes around again, you'll have another chance.
Yeah, but I have no money anymore. Back when I was in high school, I was working, I was pulling in so much, and I spent like $5 grand on it.
You have so many months to like get some of that money rolling in. I mean, you know, hint, hint. Hey, anyways, game number 2 right now. We're still sort of waiting to jump into this one, but when we kick this off, a reminder for those of you at home, what is on the line? This is a best of 3. MacGregor is up 1-0. They take this, they go to our grand final. So a lot of pressure on each of these teams. I would have to imagine the warm-up game, you know, that experimental game for a lot of reasons, is done and dusted. Now you have to think these players are playing on champions that they know, champions that they trust. That is evidence. Last time Jeans was on this Nami, we remember what they were able to do. Every Aqua Prism, when it mattered, was able to connect. It was absolutely phenomenal.
MVP of the series for sure last week, and he needs to pull out another fantastic performance like that if they're going to win this bot lane and win in this game, because there is so much power, especially I find it worrisome with YeDieJiuWo and Mabøroshi. There is just so much damage coming out of this Irelia. They've got great split push win conditions too, but their team fight from MacGregor is fantastic as well. But not all 5 members. I think the way MacGregor going to play this game is VayZhao is going to be in that side lane, and the 4 of them are going to group up and take these team fights, and it's going to be such a big difference. YeDieJiuWo is going to keep this Aphelios alive, as you know, Aphelios is really weak to, of course, damage spells and AoE, and I think there is no real champion that's going to be impacting them super effectively. As we see now onto the Rift, our champions have begun. I think this Aphelios is going to be very, very difficult.
All right, as we are getting ready to kick this one off, apologies for a little bit of those audio difficulties, but we are back on the Rift right now. MacGregor now on the blue side, Rochedale on the red side. I was just kind of thinking about it as we were loading in, again, going with that Kha'Zix and sort of how this Rochedale team comp is built. Imagine if that had been something a bit more tanky, being able to be run in the jungle. Like, I know Sejuani isn't necessarily considered that big meta pick at the moment, but a Sejuani on that team against like the all AD comp out of MacGregor, being able to build a strong front to back comp, I think would have been super strong and really would have negated a lot of MacGregor's team fighting capabilities that you were highlighting. Very curious to see how this one will play out now. Just a quick test. Are you back with us again?
I think I should be all right. I played around with my microphone, but I'm not sure if it's on or not, but hopefully you guys can hear me on stream anyway. I didn't talk loud, so maybe Max's mic will pick me up. But yeah, as you said, like it's very much that you need to have that difficulty in those lanes. I think Madflyer in this Kha'Zix needs to make sure he has a really good jungle performance. And Warren going for this assassin pick, which puts a lot more reliability on him to carry his team, rather than playing something like a Zac or something else instead.
All right, we're gonna have to get snuggy, it looks like, as we're each only coming through one mic right here, which would be my own. Just gonna continue on this one right now while we go ahead and sort of fix these technical difficulties at the moment. Nothing too crazy. Each jungler kind of can tend to power farm, although I have to, well, maybe power farm. We're still only on our first buffs at this stage. Nothing, again, too out of the ordinary. So we can see actually an interesting jungle pathing coming from YeDieJiuWo in this one, going straight from red buff to the top half of the map, maybe contemplating a early invade perhaps, especially with the way how both mid and top are starting to shove in. This is kind of further emphasized by Mabøroshi looking to go for some of these early trades, so there's a bit of lane pressure to assist an early invade, but that trade was kind of turned back around, so that might dissuade YeDieJiuWo a little bit in this one. I think the timings as well might be off, as Madflyer is just going straight from the bot side jungle to that red buff, has warded it up just in case, noticing the aggressive playstyle for both of the solo laners. So an invade right here, I'm not sure will be the right call anymore.
Yeah, I mean, given the fact he has priority in both these two lanes, could be very effective, but Mabøroshi here is playing way too over-aggressive. Syndra's power is in at level 1, 2, 3. She is probably the strongest mid laner, given the fact he's able to land those scatters of weak stuns.
Oh, that is the flash fall through. Mabøroshi stays alive somehow. Madflyer just needed to get one more auto. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, VayZhao and sshoirrao just kind of poking at each other. Not too much to happen there. Let's see. Those Aqua Prisms connect, not quite just yet. So a bit of action in the mid lane. Flash for flash in this instance, but that's a lot of kill pressure that Mabøroshi is going to be facing moving forward.
Yeah, I'm really worried about the Ornn up here in the top side already. He's getting poked out extremely heavily by the Fiora, and you can see such a big top difference we saw last game. Once again, VayZhao just completely outlaned and dominated Shiro, and again that's happening once again here on the Ornn, a champion that should be a lot better and a lot more apt to deal with the Fiora. Of course, being able to have so much more sustain in the lane with his ability to buy items while he's up there in the top side. You can see as well down this bowling, big waves being built up across the board and pushing overall for the blue side, which means they should be going for more invades with YeDieJiuWo, but name change getting poked out very heavily here by the
name change unfortunately was losing out that trade because Jinx was doing a good job keeping Doobie 10 out of that fight right there. The Aqua Prism did connect. Unfortunately for the MacGregor side, they were pushed too far forward for YeDieJiuWo in order to like really go in for that gank. AD Carry only again looking to try and poke this situation out. AD Carry only is actually doing a fantastic job, but to go back to your point in the top lane, I actually feel like sshoirrao is doing a lot better this time around than what we saw in the first game. I mean, he's still staying even with farm and is able to do so in a pretty safe location. So while yes, Fiora is kind of poking him out a bit more, this is sort of what we expected with this matchup. So I'm actually going to go the other way, and I kind of feel like this Ornn is doing quite well. Now, though, with the wave starting to bounce back, I'm curious to see if this momentum will continue or if sshoirrao will get caught in an out of position type situation. We will see moving forward.
Yeah, exactly right. Now this wave starting to push up, but Kha'Zix looking for something around here on the top. So his first gank in the mid lane wasn't completely optimal. Didn't unfortunately get the kill on Mabøroshi, which he really needed to get to start snowballing himself here. But Ornn, very tanky, very healthy, means it's going to be very difficult to contest. And see this Aphelios, once he has that caliber up, just does so much damage with the poke from the sniper rifle.
Yeah, he definitely can just really poke name change out, who has been having a bit of a struggle fest in this lane. But again, they're still keeping relatively easy with farm underneath that tower, and it's making it so hard for YeDieJiuWo to really go for these ganks. But that's okay on the Kindred if you can keep getting marks by invading because of the lane pressure that you actually have been able to get for yourself in all three lanes. Well, that can work out in your favor. Also, very interesting situation up top as sshoirrao was actually able to shove that wave all the way through. I'm a little bit surprised by that very passive play from VayZhao, who in game number 1 almost seemed over aggressive and it gave him that huge lead. I'm surprised we didn't see the Fiora try to force anything there.
Well, it's such a fantastic play from sshoirrao, actually managing his waves quickly and slow pushing that wave. It's much more effective in the early game to slow push because you build up such a large wave, and it's very difficult for champions like Fiora to trade into you. Of course, since I think patch 7.11, I want to say.
Oh, Zap gets the slow. Doobie 10 could be in a bit of trouble. AD Carry only trying to scare Jinx away. Aqua Prism does force Doobie back up, but Madflyer is here. We could be seeing the dive attempt. Flash already used, but AD Carry might be that next target. Knock up not going to connect onto anyone as AD Carry only looking to poke back against Jinx. This is very aggressive positioning. YeDieJiuWo was a bit far behind, but I think that turnaround was enough to scare Rochedale away.
Yeah, and now they have to play very safe given the fact they've got very low health bars. Still have both summoners available. The flash was burnt out of Doobie there, and unfortunately Madflyer couldn't pick up a kill. But again, pressure on this Kha'Zix, and I think much more comfortable on this champion than he was in the Fiddlesticks the game before. Which is a very needed improvement because I think the jungle matchup was, of course, one of the deciding factors in the last game. And of course, Rochedale are down in this series, and if they lose this game, they're out of the tournament completely. And even though it's such a good job getting to the semi-finals, I feel like it's almost worse to lose in the semis than it is to lose in the quarterfinals because you're so close away from that grand final. This trophy right here.
What is going on here? VayZhao just going all in on little to no health, but with the parry is able to avoid the call of the Forge God, gets the grand challenge off in sshoirrao. Nowhere to go but back to his tower, and more importantly, back to the fountain as first blood is secured by the Fiora.
Yeah, and again, up in the top side, just your win condition isn't to get the solo Qs in lane. I don't know why you're playing over aggressively, trading into that large minion wave there. Fiora, of course, propping that grand challenge, able to proc every one of those stacks and get that healing off means, there could have been an opportunity for sshoirrao to win, but he just didn't play it right. I feel like there's been a lot of opportunities where the Rochedale side could get a kill, but they just misplay. We saw in the last game, I think Madflyer did it twice, where there was 2 opportunities for him to grab some kills, same as HeroicFeet, and they just misplay. They kind of get almost like, oh, I've won this trade, and they stop playing the game, right? And then just get counted back over.
Here we go. Madflyer actually gets stunned, and oh my gosh, the Vanguard's edge is stopped by the pause. Oh boy, this is an interesting situation right here. Hello, everybody. That's right. We sit down sometimes when we cast, especially when my ankle is still injured from a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, we're back here right now. Hopefully this pause will not take too long. Very inopportune timing for that one.
Yeah, I mean, especially given the fact that now these players are going to be sitting there ready to press their key buttons. Especially interesting to see only Madflyer, who could definitely turn around and trade something onto the Akali, but that Vanguard's edge is very strong, and I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Madflyer to get him out of that situation. It could be a kill you see over to Mabøroshi. Hopefully HeroicFeet's ultimate is up. and available, and he could maybe make a play happen. But again, very disconnected play looks like from mid lane and jungle there. As HeroicFeet's a little bit further back and could be very dangerous. We're not sure what that pause is, and of course, hopefully we get to the game as soon as possible, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where this one goes as well, but we have some time to kill, so I'm going to address you, Twitch chat, now. It's not like at home when I can actually read you, but I do go back and read afterwards, so I'm curious to see who your predictions are for in this one, if you think MacGregor is going to hold on, if you think Rochedale is going to come back. I'm still leaning towards MacGregor. I think they're still playing well enough, and I do believe those misplays in the top lane might come back to bite them yet again. Something about Rochedale, they just feel over-eager time and time again to try and force situations when they don't have to. Now, they are playing a bit more comfortably. I mean, this game a lot more controlled than that first game, much less of a bloodbath. Like, first game, there was, I think, 8 kills in the first 10 minutes. This time, we've only had 1, and even that was kind of like something that could have easily been afforded. There wasn't a under 5-minute fiesta in the top lane.
No,
that makes a big difference to the tempo of the game.
But the one thing is, we said time and time again for Rochedale, their biggest issue is they don't teamfight cohesively. They have disjointed team fights. They're not effective when it comes to working together as a team and setting up around this comp. And again, they've got a team fight comp, but it's not as easy to execute as it was last game. I think if you had something in the jungle like a Zac, or as we are back into game and see this mid lane, we've missed a bit there, I think, but looks like the... they were able to kill Mabøroshi.
Yeah, so Mabøroshi did go down. The kill was secured by Rochedale. Look, I'm going to be blatantly obvious right here, right now. If a kill wasn't taken, I was going to take this trophy home with me because no one deserves it. That's just how I felt. That's just how I felt about that situation. It's like, you know what? No. Both teams failed a prime opportunity. Trophy is mine now. Better luck next year, everyone. I digress, though. We are moving along in this one. 8.5 minutes now in. Gold lead slightly in favor of MacGregor. That largely comes from the first blood as well as that CS differential up top. But a Bramble Vest now bought for sshoirrao means he should be looking a bit better moving forward. This is very much
be Irelia. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen Irelia need a blue buff before, but I suppose it helps quite a bit. We haven't seen a single Lucian mid this tournament, have we?
No, not really. No.
Because Lucian mid is something I'm surprised hasn't been picked up, as they did actually, when Lucian mid was that ridiculously overpowered Lucian solo lane pick that it was because he had a bug per se that every time you proc that Lightbringer passive, they were crits. Yeah. It was a double crit and it did more damage. And they've reverted that.
Oh, here we go. Sorry to cut you off, but here comes the call. The Forge God gets a quick knock up onto VayZhao, who will go down. Meanwhile, down below, though, the Aphelios poke has been absolutely devastating for Namechange. Flashing under tower, going for an 80 carry only. Will get hit with the Aqua Prison, but the Janna Monsoon keeps 80 carry alive. And MacGregor pulls off one of the craziest tower dives I have ever seen.
Yeah, that was such a well-executed play by both of them. That on the same page, able to communicate. And I would like to say, what I was going to say before we heard that play came down is Madflyer has improved significantly from last game to this game. Obviously, looks a lot more comfortable on that Kha'Zix, has Mastery 7 on that champion, so quite experienced with playing it. And you can see what benefit playing a champion that Comfort is. Even though Kha'Zix isn't meta, doesn't fit with a comp, he's just so much more comfortable on it and he's playing so much better. So when you're trying to make teams of your own in amateur leagues, bronze to gold, make sure you stick to that Comfort because it's just so much more effective. But the one thing MacGregor have happening is last game it was the bot side that was falling behind and the top side that was doing well. In this game, top side's falling a little bit behind and the bot lane are picking up that slack. 80 carry only on this Aphelios is playing insane. And once Aphelios gets stacked up and grabs that Rune's Hurricane, grabs the IE, he's going to be devastating with that abilities.
Okay, VayZhao doing a bit of proxy farming right now. That's how confident he's feeling. Already poked down to half health, though. And last time we kind of saw this, a gank did happen. But this time the play's going to have a mid lane. A very early flash from Mabøroshi. Does dodge out the scatter of the week. And now you have YeDieJiuWo waiting, seeing if he wants to go in. Not going to commit this time, but interesting to see VayZhao proxy farming before. Not sure that's the right call.
Oh no.
A little bit early with the headbutt right there. VayZhao, though, looking potentially to trade it back, but a mix between the Bomby Syndra as well as that
Bramble Vest makes it very difficult to trade back into. I think Ornn just kind of walked past him and you can hit me, but it's not going to do anything. I'm going to grab my minions. Ornn's probably one of my favorite champions when it comes to lore and dialogue. He's just so
everything about Ornn.
He just doesn't care. He's like, I'm a god. I'm just going to hit my hammer. I like building things.
Stun connects and YeDieJiuWo is here to help out as well. That's okay. Not even needed for that Lamb's Respite as the kill secured by Mabøroshi.
Yeah, taken up there. Fantastic dive. You see the HeroicFeet getting caught out once again in this mid lane 1v1, just getting hit by that skill shot, not playing safe enough on the Syndra. And Oh, almost been taken down there by
Yeah,
the
but
Jinx
you got
Rocket,
Madflyer also stalking as well, not going to be able to go in for it. So cheeky play right there from namechange. Still going for that Super Mega Death Rocket, not able to connect. Second Dragon is going to be spawning right now. It will be that Cloud Drake, and it happens right after a Rochedale reset. So I do believe gold advantage you would think would be in favor of that bot side. However, because of how dominating AD carry has been, actually, it still is a blue side favor. Dragon up top. These two are just willing to go at it in all stages of the game. AD carry only saying, I see your items, we still win these trades. Knockup not able to fall through. The tidal wave's not going to connect as well, so a lot of poking, but not a lot of damage.
I mean, AD carry only has more items anyways, and didn't end up going for it. It could be very dire for a dive.
That's two key abilities gone, but the flashback under the tower. You gotta wait till the tower aggro is hitting VayZhao, who will be able to walk out of this one. I like the attempt out of sshoirrao, but it was not executed properly at all.
No, and just wasn't able to stay sustained in those fights. I thought he was going to back after that last trade went poorly for him, as the dive was definitely able to be set up. And of course,
here comes a dive. Madflyer going straight after AD carry only, but the flash and the monsoon and the Lamb's Respite keeps him very much alive. HeroicFeet on his own gets the kill with the ultimate power. And so a one kill taken back down in the bot side. This should be able to turn into a dragon, but those health bars are so low. It looks like Rochedale rather run away.
But the one thing I can say, Mabøroshi was roaming down and could have been a big difference maker in that fight, but I'm still, even though Rochedale doing a lot of better job, they're still 3,000 gold down, they're still behind in kills, and they're still making these fights very messy. They're not looking clean and polished and playing these team fights as they should, as I said, they still have that advantage in that. I think the 5v5 honestly goes towards MacGregor. They have a better comp setup overall, and I don't see Rochedale having a clear, concise win condition really, other than kind of win lane and get ahead. And I don't think HeroicFeet on this Syndra has been playing well enough to really carry his team through. I think Mabøroshi is going to be equally as effective. I think in this bot lane, Aphelios power spikes much earlier than the Jinx, is much further ahead too, CS and kill wise. Up on the top side, Ornn's not going to make a big enough difference, and I don't think anyone will be able to match the Fiora in the side lanes. And I honestly think, as much as Rochedale have played much better this game, I don't see how they don't have a clear win condition, because as much as MacGregor are full armor, everyone on their team is completely AD damage. There is no ninja tabbies being built. I mean, there's one on, of course, name change, but you'd want one on the jungler. I don't think the Moby boots are particularly effective. I'm pretty sure they got nerfed anyways, where boots of swiftness are more effective. Anyways, I think in this mid lane, the ninja tabby are more effective than the magic pen for the Syndra.
Ooh, interesting, son. It goes back to the point, though, that we made during the end of the picks and bans, though. Like, imagine if instead of a Kha'Zix we were seeing here, it would have been something like a Sejuani or a Zac even. Just another frontline tank that you can just stack a bunch of armor on. All of a sudden, you have a really strong front-to-back teamfight comp.
Even a Rammus, right?
I mean, Rammus would have been absolutely ideal. But yeah, if you get that super strong front-to-back teamfight comp, then you really enable namechange, who we know is confident on that Jinx, to absolutely carry in this type of game. However, that's not been the case thus far. They are struggling a bit. I still feel they are going to look for front-to-back teamfights, maybe throwing Madflyer on a flank instead. And, catching out, or trying to catch out VayZhao is usually the right idea. Another call as the Forge God misses. That's 3 for 3. And I'm really starting to question sshoirrao's abilities with that ultimate. HeroicFeet might be getting caught out now as well. Was able to get a kill on the back end of everything, but will fall, making it a 3 for 1. Not a good look for Rochedale.
Yeah, Rochedale just aren't in this game at all. Their champions, their players, as much as they went back to comfort once again, they're just not as strong on these champions, and they're not mechanically displaying proper abilities other than down in this bot side. I think they're two mechanically strongest champions, but AD carry only has turned up today on this. Aphelios is dominating.
Absolutely. I mean, AD carry only has definitely taken control of the bot half of the map. You can say the same thing for VayZhao on the top half of the map as well. It hasn't been the cleanest, but you're still up 4 kills to 0, and you still have over a 50 CS advantage on your opponent. So needless to say, this Fiora is very close to coming very online as soon as that training force is completed. Madflyer, though, looking back down below, doesn't have the burst damage to kill Doobie 10 before the monsoon comes up, still looking to chase after a name change. Flashing in, gets gunned down before he can get a kill. AD carry only stays alive and somehow pulls a double kill out of nowhere, and things going from bad to worse for Rochedale. Everyone in the bot lane dies, tower's gonna fall, and here comes that snowball effect.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much like, this is almost game over here for Rochedale. Only 15 minutes in, but there's just so much dominant, aggressive picks. You could see there in that game the chakrams there from Aphelios. Once he gets those stacked up, he has such ridiculous damage coming out in that close range, especially when you compare Chakram Severin. The amount of, it's so funny watching Aphelios running with like 10 HP and gets a full health instantly when he's in melee range, right? It's kind of funny, the Aphelios play style is almost getting chunked out there by the Unleashed Power, I believe, on an Unleashed Power. Just Qs. And
yeah, no, it was just poke, and now YeDieJiuWo needs to be a little cautious as well. Lamb's Respite not going to be used. Doobie also sticking around on very low health. They need to be very, 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 you know, a little nervous with this recall. Here comes Madflyer, spawns out Doobie because of the ward in that bush right there, and he's able to steal a kill back. That's got to feel good.
That's good. That's something, right? It's something back on this Kha'Zix, and I think this Kha'Zix really needs to accelerate, and when you pick the champion, he needs to be ahead, especially if he's a lethality assassin.
That was a Vanguard's Edge.
Yeah, but flashed away, of course, by Mabøroshi. Interesting, he's gone for the Hextech Revolver too, so I'm the Hextech GLP, which is why I'm now confused by the fact that he's gone for these pen boots, because when you see pen boots, you're expecting high damage, high impact, but instead going for this Hextech GLP, you would expect the Syndra to then go for a more defensive build, as you're not going to be as damage oriented, and I think this Jinx is kind of the core carry. He thinks he's also going for the Electrocute as well on HeroicFeet. I didn't notice that before, but Phase Rush on Syndra is so much more impactful. She would have escaped a couple of games. Gives her a lot more ability in dodging around Mabøroshi's abilities, and I think it's just... This game, I really want Rochedale to do well, but they're just unable to really perform at a higher level, and they just keep making mistakes in lane and not executing around their win conditions correctly, and kind of I think they're not on the same page. I see a lot of missed push lanes. I think the communication isn't there, but Doobie tends to.
Oh, this could be an issue for Doobie, who's actually able to avoid the tidal wave and the zap as well. Great monsoon, stopping Madflyer mid-jump. HeroicFeet's going to try and escape to the tower, throws the Scatter of the Weak the wrong way, but is all okay. And to continue on with your point as well, I have to give credit over to MacGregor, though. It's because of their aggressive playstyles in lane that I feel they're forcing a lot of these bad decisions, because Rochedale, they're feeling suffocated, and thus they're feeling like they're forced to try and make these plays happen, as we're seeing again right here. But that just means MacGregor is going to go in and kind of throw their wallets around. They should be able to get one back, but it's not before a double kill is secured by VayZhao. YeDieJiuWo staying alive. The tornado is not going to hit sshoirrao, but VayZhao will, forcing a flash out of the Ornn. And yeah, Mabøroshi dies, but not before 2 kills are secured. And MacGregor, they're continuing to suffocate and force poor decisions out of Rochedale. Here comes the dive. sshoirrao will go down. Kill secured once again by VayZhao, who's gotten 3 in this exchange.
Yeah, and I guess it's just mechanically, I think, is where the biggest difference is. MacGregor are playing mechanically so effectively. We saw that dive in the bot lane earlier on by AD carry only in Doobie. We saw just again Doobie getting caught out of a fantastic bush trap. Probably should have waited a second longer, but the fact they instantly cast the tornado, flash away, pop that ultimate at the right time. The mechanical reactions here on MacGregor are far superior to Rochedale. You see HeroicFeet missing, you know, the Scatter the Weak the wrong way, getting hit by the Vanguard's Edge, or not Vanguard's Edge, the Flawless Duet from the Irelia and getting stunned up. Mechanically, they're just outmatched here. And that's why Rochedale are falling so far behind. And it's never really, I've never really seen a game of League where mechanical difference actually matters. Usually, the biggest thing in League is your mechanics don't matter as long as you're playing the game correctly, but at a level where neither team is playing the game super efficiently, I think MacGregor's mechanics are why they've done so well so far in this tournament, and they are dominating both these teams.
It's always a sad sight as well when a Kha'Zix is unable to burst down a Janna, as we saw just there. So Madflyer on this Kha'Zix, unfortunately, may have fallen a bit too far behind. The Ardent Sensor just doing too much work for Doobie 10 at this stage of the game, and you're not able to get those assassination targets. Unfortunately, your win condition hasn't completed an item yet.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, well now, okay, as I say that, of course, you complete the Infinity Edge, haha.
But 20 minutes for one item is not what you want when it's your only character.
Exactly. It's just not looking good for Rochedale. They're already down 8K. Not the 10K for the No Mercy rule.
No, it's not the 10K.
So we're still
20 minutes at 8K is...
It's not great.
Not looking good, especially when you're the one with the assassin on your side.
Yeah, and guess what? With the team composition MacGregor has, they can totally threaten that 20-minute Baron right now, and I don't think Rochedale are in a position to try and fight it. As you can see right here, they've already gotten Mr. Nasher riled up. Meanwhile, good old VayZhao is just going to go ahead and try and even get some kills and maybe provide distraction while the rest of the team secures a call. The Fort God, will this one connect? No!
He's just double tapping his R, I think. He's using the dash before his pen. I think that's his problem. He's just double tapping R.
Yeah,
because I don't know how, like, the Ornn ult is probably mechanically probably one of the easiest ultimates in the game to execute. You know, well, I mean, it's not point and click, but it's not.
No.
It's not hard to kind of. It's a very big projectile. It has a large range, and if you're not getting blocked, it's.
Oh, now you pay the price for missing with the Call to Fort God. He does knock a couple of people up, but not going to get any kills. And because of that challenge, everyone's going to be nice and healed up. It's specifically a VayZhao. As here comes that Baron Empowered Siege, and Rochedale kind of standing on their last legs already in this one. No minion wave, though, does mean MacGregor is going to back off. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and reset before setting up that big final push, but pretty much all the towers are gone. The only one still standing is that tier 2 bot lane down there, and even that has a minion wave pushing into it, and it is so low health that those minions might be able to finish it off. Surprised to see MacGregor stick around, actually. I was expecting that reset, that poke damage onto Jinx to follow through 80 carry only. Just showing why Aphelios is such a disgusting champion when ahead. Towers are going to fall, and this is looking dire and more dire in all of the words that rhyme with dire. As low call, okay, Lamps Spite force out into YeDieJiuWo, but that just opens the door for Mabøroshi to dive in deep. He gets the double. HeroicFeet's not going to escape. There's the triple. sshoirrao will be the 4th one to fall, but it is not a quadra because guess what? Doobie 10 needs a kill as well. Janna steals that away, but the Nexus towers, they're gonna fall, and MacGregor is going to advance to the Queensland League of Legends High School Series Final.
Yeah, into the grand final, MacGregor destroying Rochedale this game, 22 minutes. It was looking much closer this game. It was looking like back and forth. Both sides could do quite well, but it just kind of exploded after that bot lane fight, and they just got a number of kills and just exploded throughout the game, and just kind of took it out in very fast fashion.
And I think there's two things that we should be really taking away from this series. The first one being, MacGregor, yes, they might not have shown off, you know, the biggest macro sort of big brain decisions in these games, but when they have a lead, they finish that lead fast. They know how their champion's limits. They know what trades to take, which trades not to take, especially when ahead. And they have those mechanics to gain that lead. And that's something that they use to their advantage. And the other big takeaway I'm getting is kind of from this Rochedale side, and it shows the disadvantages of that, because the second you start to feel yourself slipping behind, sometimes you make incorrect decisions. You're starting to feel choked out. And Rochedale starting to force these fights that they didn't have to because of that amount of pressure from the mechanics and that lane pressure. MacGregor just eats that up, and they use that to snowball their lead.
The mechanical display we saw from MacGregor here today, and we've seen throughout the season, has just been the reason why they're one of the top teams. It's not because they have particularly great macro, they don't have particularly good drafts, they don't have good champion selections, but mechanically, they just can play their champions better. And I think it is almost the embodiment of when we say comfort is essential. You need to play the champions that you're comfortable on, that you can perform well on. You just play so much better, even though, you know, things like draft and champion selections definitely enable you to win a game more easily. But if you're pound for pound the best player in the competition in your lane on your champion, you know, if you can play that Irelia better than anyone else can play their champions, and it doesn't matter if it's the right pick, it doesn't matter if it fits the comp. If you're doing well, if you're snowballing ahead, that's what's going to win you these games. You're not playing in pro matches where it matters. Every champion, the actual difference between each champions matters. When you're playing at this lower level, it's really important you have comfort. And even though it's a bad example, Rochedale lost, Madflyer looks exceptional on that card. Well, not exceptional, but he looked a lot better on that Kha'Zix than he did on the Fiddlesticks. Even though the bot lane kind of got dominated, I think that was just because 80 carry
on that Aphelios.
It had such a fantastic performance on that Aphelios. But Jinx and Nami still had good games. Jinx landed a lot of bubbles, landed those tidal waves, and still played very well in that bot lane, which is why that bot lane was such a good contest. But 80 carry only and Doobie played insane, and overall it was just a fantastic match.
And again, to kind of go the other way of why you don't force off comfort situations, sshoirrao on the Ornn.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a single call of the Forge God actually was able to follow through that entire game, and you're up against VayZhao, who was an absolute beast in game 1, and guess what? He was a beast in game 2 as well. Like, my pick for the MVP is still going to go to the top laner, despite what the bot lane did in game 2. If you're going to look at both those games together, I'm still giving it to VayZhao on that Fiora. Like, was absolutely phenomenal.
See, I would say game 2 MVP was 80 carry on the Aphelios, but series MVP Doobie 10. Because I think his Yuumi performance was fantastic. I think it wasn't as good as it didn't look as good because YeDieJiuWo was so fed on the Yi, and of course the Mordekaiser on the top side was ridiculously fed. But he had so much utility on that Yuumi in the team fights, being able to jump onto the Yi land. He landed like, I mean, not that Yuumi lands a lost chapter, it's more the person who's carrying him that lands the lost chapter, but the fact that he was able to jump onto the right people at the right time and know how to play that champion effectively, and his Janna mechanics this game were fantastic. I think Doobie 10 was the second best player in both games, and overall I'd say he's the series MVP.
I don't know. I'm still leaning towards VayZhao.
VayZhao was very good. I think, though, he had some mistakes in this game that I would say he's probably the 4th best player this game. I think when it comes to I think YeDieJiuWo was very unfortunate. I think this game he still played well, but he did nothing.
He didn't need to do anything.
So it's very difficult as a jungler to kind of say, because I think if he had a good performance, he was very close for that. For the second, he played very well in the first game too.
Can I just say, like, as a jungle main, Those are my favorite types of jungle games when I don't have to do a
when
thing.
you have to
I can just
relax,
power farm, be like, yeah, I'm contributing. Especially if I'm playing something like Karthus. It's like, oh, people are fighting. I'll just push R and keep on doing my
Keep
thing.
hitting my wolves, just relaxing, having a nice time.
So I'm sure YeDieJiuWo is A-okay with not necessarily needing to show off in that game. And we could debate the MVP, I feel like, all night long in this one.
Exactly,
We'll get bogged down. The big point is MacGregor. They just showed up today. They put together a grand final enabling performance, and I am scared to see which team they're going to be up against. It doesn't look like we have the results just yet between Hillbrook and Hellcats, but that could be getting updated at any moment. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Do we see something?
Probably not.
No. Intro's up 1-0 though.
There
so
we
we
go.
do know that.
I would expect Indra to win. I think Hillbrook Hellcats have been the kind of surprise package of this playoffs. I didn't expect them to beat. I mean, as I said, Mansfield Minotaurs were my favorite team coming in.
Same.
They were powering #1 overall on the table. They'd beaten MacGregor. They're the only team MacGregor lost to. And of course, Indra Pili, I hope will win against Hillbrook, I assume. But I think Indra versus MacGregor is going to be a very interesting matchup because I think Indra's strength also lies in the same place that MacGregor's does. They have these mechanical players 1v1, and that's how they win their games. So It's Sweet's got a pentakill this week, of course, the Lenovo Savage Player of the Week. So very strong player there. And I think there's going to be a very interesting matchup between those two sides. And I think mechanically, I mean, I don't think we've seen them play, but I would assume they're quite evenly matched. I think the champions that they play as well match up quite well. Mabøroshi plays these assassins, I think, in the mid lane for Indra Pili. I had the name on my tongue, but I can't remember. But he plays more control magey, but those aggressive control mages that really dominate. He plays like a pro player in terms of he'll play a Syndra, but he'll play it like an assassin and he'll dominate. And he'll really show the difference between those two picks. Woodrow, that's his name.
Woodrow, yes.
He's a very, very strong player. And I think that Indra Pili and MacGregor will be a very tight series, but I think it'll be very one-sided.
There is one thing that has me a little bit nervous, though, about Woodrow in particular, actually. Shout out to Woodrow out there. I still remember what happened yesterday. Remember I was talking about community casting games? I cast one of his games. He played Yasuo. It was, I think he finished 3-9-3.
Jesus.
So, again, I think we've seen him show up, definitely on stream, but we've also seen, faults in his game on my personal stream, by the way, formal casting, twitch.tv. Anyways, no, that's actually a fun thing, though. Like, both of us, we like to help out, and I do sometimes community streams where, you want a game cast, hit me up. I digress, though. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I think the big issue with that, though, is he started feeling like he had to do so much to overcompensate and rough start, and he just kept like...
I mean, it's one of those... Yasuo is famous. They say
Feast or famine.
20-0 or 0-20, and that's because it starts a melee assassin bruiser.
I actually remember.
Once you fall behind, it's very hard to...
I was actually more angry at the other team that game because they... his team, Woodrow's team, killed an inhibitor at like 17 minutes on the top side.
Yep.
And instead of putting the late game win condition, I think it was a Jinx down there to just eat up all that farm, they put the 2-6 Camille to eat it all up, who's going to be completely useless later in the game, but they just kept, feed all this free gold to Camille, it will work out. And I was just like, I digress though. Woodrow graduated. Okay, so Woodrow might have been last year. Either way, though, shout out to Woodrow. You're a cool dude. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for us in this one. We've gone well and truly off topic. On behalf of everyone here at the University of Queensland, guess what? There was only 3 of us today. Myself, Replays, and Mr. Producer Man Jet, who's way offside. Hi, Jet. Yeah, he's waving back. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and following. One last congratulations to MacGregor. Good luck to Hillsbrook and Indra Pili, who are still fighting out their series, and we will see you all come grand final time.
And thank you, Legion by Lenovo.
Absolutely, Lenovo.